Hey guys, Aaron Farmer here with mysugarfreejourney.com. We're going to take a look at all of the articles that have come across my desk today. Please remember, if you haven't already, I would love if you would subscribe to the YouTube channel, give this video a thumbs up, maybe share it with your friends, but most definitely leave me a comment. I love hearing from you guys. All right, let's take a look. This college dropout was bedridden for 11 years. Then he invented a surgery and cured himself. So the story is about Doug Lindsay. He was 21 years old. He started his senior year at Rockhurst University, a Jesuit college in Kansas City, Missouri, when his world imploded. After his first day of classes, the biology major collapsed at home on the dining room table, the room spinning around him. It was 1999. The symptoms soon became intense and untreatable. His heart would race. He felt weak, and he frequently got dizzy. Lindsay would walk only about 50 feet at a time and couldn't stand for more than a few minutes. Dude was in trouble. So it goes over some of the things that he did, and his mother also had a very similar affliction. While in college, he picked up a 2,200-page endocrinology textbook near a garbage can, hoping to use it to figure out what condition his mom had. In it, he found an important passage discussing how adrenal disorders could mirror thyroid disorders. So now he's got his first bit of information. He zeroed in on his adrenal glands, which sit atop the kidneys on either side of the lower abdomen. Moving on. Lindsay suspected his body was producing too much adrenaline. He knew of a drug called Levofed, which is approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration to raise blood pressure in some critically ill patients. Levofed is basically an injection of noradrenaline, which counters the symptoms created by excess adrenaline. It hadn't been done before, but Lindsay convinced Coughlin, which is a doctor he got to kind of help him, to repurpose the drug so he could live on a 24/7 noradrenaline drip for the next 6 years. Lindsay spent every second of every day hooked up to an IV. It stabilized his condition and allowed him to be active for short periods of time around the house. Wow. So he's found a drug. Next step. Lindsay suspected there might be something in his adrenal gland that was acting like a tumor, but wasn't, because they were doing scans and they couldn't find any evidence of a tumor. Coughlin, which is the doctor he's dealing with, Coughlin called Lindsay and said, "We found it. The diagnosis, bilateral adrenal medullary hyperplasia. In layman's term, it meant the medullas, or inner regions of his adrenal glands, were enlarged and acting like tumors. His adrenal glands were producing way too much adrenaline." So he's figuring this out. And he fixed on what seemed like a simple solution. If he could cut out the medullas of his adrenal glands, sort of like slicing into a hard-boiled egg and removing the yolk, his health would improve. The first big lead came in 2008, so he's looking for a way to do that. He found a 1980 study from a scientist at Georgia State University, which he summed up as, you slice the rat's adrenal gland with a razor blade and squeeze it so the medulla pops out like a pimple. He built a 363-page PDF which proposed a first ever human adrenal medullectomy. Okay. So this guy is inventing his own surgery. Eventually, he recruited a surgeon from the University of Alabama, Birmingham. In September 2010, Lindsay went to the University Hospital, where the doctor successfully extracted one of his adrenal medullas. 3 weeks after the procedure, Lindsay could sit upright for 3 hours. By Christmas Eve, he had the strength to walk a mile to church. His progress was slow. In 2012, he underwent a second surgery at Washington University in St. Louis to remove the medulla from his remaining adrenal gland. A year later, he was well enough to fly with friends to the Bahamas. It was the first time in his life the Midwesterner had seen the ocean. By early 2014, he was coming off of some of his meds. Coughlin, his champion, lived just long enough to see Lindsay's remarkable recovery. He died in 2015. And so he goes on and tells his story and what he's learned from the whole thing. It's a fascinating article. You really need to read it. It's too long for me to go over the whole thing. But here's why I'm including that. Because this is, I think, the important lesson that this is an extreme case of what I'm about to talk about, but it's definitely something that you need to keep in mind, which is your health is your health. You've got to be responsible for your own health. You've got to look at your problems. You've got to figure out what the issues are, and you've got to figure out how to solve your own problems. There are things that might be wrong with you that may be unique to you. You're going to have to undergo all of the the study and the experiments and whatever it is that you need to do to figure out how to best maximize your health. But take your health seriously. Don't just, I think sometimes one of the worst things that we can do, and I know this is going to seem counterintuitive, but sometimes one of the worst things that can happen is if you have a problem, you go to the doctor and the doctor gives you a medicine to solve that problem. And if that medicine actually solves that problem, great. But a lot of times that's not what happens. A lot of times you'll go to the doctor will give you medicine not to solve the problem, but to manage the problem so that you can live longer with the problem. And we kind of accept that as the best that medical science can do. I see this a lot of times with people who get a type 2 diabetes diagnosis, and they go and they get medicine like metformin or some other kind of medicine that makes managing their disease okay. It manages their disease and allows them to live longer with the disease. Well, I mean, goodness. How about we just fix the problem? How about we just fix the issue that's going on? And usually all you have to do is cut the sugar and grains out of your diet, and that fixes type 2 diabetes. You don't have to be on any medication. And I think that's, it's such an important, idea that your health is your health. You've got to take responsibility for it. All right, moving on. How HIV infection may contribute to a wide-ranging metabolic conditions. I thought this was really interesting. HIV infected cells release vesicles, which is a word I've never heard before, that contain a viral protein called NEF, impairing cholesterol metabolism and triggering inflammation in uninfected bystander cells. The findings may explain how HIV infection causes a wide range of conditions that are associated with dysfunction in uninfected cells. So this was a mystery. People were trying to figure out why, if you had HIV in one cell, why was it affecting the other nearby cells that weren't actually infected? Well, looks like the reason that it does it is it impairs cholesterol metabolism, so it makes the cells have a more difficult time dealing with cholesterol, and it triggers inflammation. And so this is something that we see time and time and time again. Your body needs cholesterol. It needs, every cell in your body needs cholesterol. Every cell in your body uses cholesterol to build it. And a health strategy that is predicated on the idea that you have too much cholesterol and you need to lower your cholesterol and lower your cholesterol and lower your cholesterol and lower your cholesterol is not a strategy that's going to work out well for you long term. What else does HIV do? It also triggers inflammation. And this is the real key. The strategy, I'm extracting this to somebody who doesn't have HIV, but it doesn't matter if you have HIV or if you don't have HIV. Inflammation is bad, or at least chronic inflammation is bad. And if you've got any kind of chronic issue that causes inflammation and keeps inflammation around in your body long term, that's going to cause problems. So we see it here. This is an extreme example of a disease that causes inflammation and impairs your body's ability to use cholesterol. And what happens? Bad things happen when you are in a position where you are constantly inflamed and you're not using your cholesterol well. What should be your goal? If you're trying to improve your health, regardless of if you have HIV or not, your goal should be to reduce inflammation and give your body the ability to use the cholesterol that you're eating for the things that your body wants to do. So you do this by not eating sugar, not eating grains, not eating polyunsaturated fats, not eating foods that cause inflammation. And once you remove the things that cause inflammation from your diet, your body is able to then use the cholesterol for the things it's supposed to do, and it doesn't become this heart-clogging, heart attack-causing substance. It does what it's supposed to do, which is, it's the basic building blocks of your body is cholesterol. The authors add, our study points to a common mechanism of various comorbidities of HIV infection. This opens a possibility to target this mechanism using drugs affecting cholesterol metabolism to treat several comorbidities in people living with HIV. So if you have HIV, you want to be able to use cholesterol and be able to allow your body to use cholesterol. That's one of the things that HIV targets. It's one of the reasons why HIV is so dangerous, and it's also one of the reasons why statins are so dangerous, because statins prevent your body from using cholesterol in the way that it's supposed to be used. Are you a proteinaholic? So this was a pro-vegan article. I thought it was interesting for you guys to kind of see how the other half lives. We are not carnivores. We do not have fangs and claws like lions. That is true. We do not have fangs and claws like lions, but what do we have instead of fangs and claws? We have this giant brain that can do things like make tools. Have you ever seen a lion make a spear? Have you ever seen a lion sharpen a knife? No, but humans can do that. We also have these cool things right here. These are called opposable thumbs. That's what allows us to hold on to things like spears and knives and weapons and go out to kill our food. America eats the most animal-based protein in the world. Years ago, I would say eat more animal-based protein, but America has the shortest life expectancy and spends the most on healthcare. We get more overweight, more cases of diabetes, etc. This is Garth Davis saying this. Well, that's not exactly true. We know that Hong Kong eats far more animal products than America does per capita, and Hong Kong also happens to have the longest life expectancy in the world. We know that India follows the kind of diet that Garth Davis would suggest that we should eat. It's a mostly vegan, mostly vegetarian diet in India. And they have the shortest life expectancy and an ever-growing amount of type 2 diabetes medications in India. Garth Davis, God bless him, he's just flat out wrong. You need to eat more animal-based products, but remove the plant products that have never been a part of our diet before, ever, such as sugar, starch, grains, etc., etc. Moving on. Oh, this was another kind of pro-vegan article. Eating a plant-based diet might help prevent diabetes, studies suggest. Okay, so listen, they get so close to the truth. They get so close to the truth, and they just can't see what's going on right in front of their mind, right in front of their eyes. So sticking to a plant-based diet could help lower your risk of type 2 diabetes. That link between plant-based eating habits and type 2 diabetes is even more beneficial when only healthy plant-based foods such as fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, and nuts are included in your daily diet, as opposed to refined grains, starches, and sugars, according to the study. It's the refined grains, it's the starches, it's the sugars that are causing the issue. We further showed that in individuals who consumed a healthy version of the plant-based diet by emphasizing the intake of fresh fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and legumes, and minimizing intake of sugar-sweetened beverages and refined carbohydrates had a further 30% reduction in the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. I would describe these risk reductions as being quite significant, and I would agree. Those are significant risk reductions. But how do they achieve those risk reductions? They achieved them by getting rid of sugar, refined grains, starches. Those are the things that are causing the problem. So I just want to reiterate, a vegan diet is healthier than a standard American diet that's full of sugar and full of processed grains. But what's even healthier than both a standard American diet and a vegan diet is a diet that is free of all of those things that are causing the problems, plus has animal products in it. And that's all of these studies that talk about the health benefits of a vegan diet. That's something that needs to be said over and over and over again. When you compare a vegan diet to the standard American diet, the vegan diet will always shine. It will always look great because a vegan diet is better than a standard American diet that's full of sugar and processed grains. But there's an even better diet. It's one that's free of sugar and processed grains, but includes all of the animal products that we've been eating since we became human beings. How and why resistance training is imperative for older adults. I'm not going to read this thing. Just know that as you're getting older, one of the things that you have to combat against is sarcopenia. It's the wasting away of your muscles. And the more your muscles go away as you get older, the more prone that you are to dying early. In fact, leg strength, particularly, leg strength and grip strength are two things that are correlated well with longevity. So you want to keep your grip strength for as long as you can, and you want to keep your leg strength. Now, the leg strength is pretty obvious. You know, if you are walking and you stumble and you have the leg strength and the leg quickness, to be able to get your foot back out in front of you and catch yourself so you don't fall. If you have the ability to do that, your chances of falling, say, down a flight of stairs or, falling and breaking a hip or something are going to be greatly reduced. So definitely take care of your muscles. And you do that by using them. Go lift up something heavy. and lift up something heavy 2, 3, 4 times a week for the rest of your life, because you want to keep as much muscle tone as you can into old age. And then finally, this cute little bugger right here, they're feeding their mashed peas, and he's shaking his head. He doesn't like those mashed peas. Who would? And I've always kind of thought this funny, because anyone that's fed babies this, the baby food that's plants, babies for whatever reason they don't like those plants, and I've always wondered if maybe those babies have a better idea of the type of food that they should be eating. Babies want fat. They don't want peas. They don't want carrots. They don't want beets. Most of them don't. And so feed your baby real food. All right, guys, I appreciate you watching. Remember that subscribe to the YouTube channel, give this video a thumbs up, tell your people about what we're doing here, and we will talk to you later. Bye-bye. Well, I'm going to do a good job of turning this off. There it is. All right, guys, hold on.